I've got people. I've, I had a couple of people saying, it's 9:02. Where are you? What's going on? Where are you? Man, oh man, there's nothing going on right now. Let me just calm everybody's fears. There's nothing happening right now. Let me just show you. Everything is north of us at this time. This is to answer questions about tomorrow morning. So everybody take a deep breath. everybody relax. We're good, right? Everything's okay. Man, people are folks are high strung tonight. So here's the thing. Obviously, you see to the west, they're having a rough night from Wichita Falls on down to Snyder and Big Spring out there. And yes, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube and X right now. I'm across all platforms. I'm live. I'm here. We're good. Everything's fine. So, good Lord. Okay. So we have these storms here, and obviously there are storms north of us. There's nothing happening right now in our area. Today, the cap held, and we were able to prevent those storms from happening today, and we're in good shape now. But that will change overnight. So right now, obviously, I mean, you can see the storms, and I think, let me just get this remedied here because I had to take those off. So you can see all of the warnings. These are all, and Tiffany, I don't know if there's, if the audio is delayed or something, I'm not sure what would be going on there. It may just be a delay with your connection, or Facebook, I know at times compresses things, so it loses some quality. Not sure what could be going on there. But this is what we're seeing here. So this just absolutely unforgiving line of storms. And what I want to show you here is if we back off, and I want to show you the radar mosaic here. There's kind of two things going on, and it's kind of an important distinction here. So here you have one line, and then west of Big Lake here, from Midland down towards Fort Stockton, you see this new line developing. That, ladies and gentlemen, that is what will be moving across the state, and that will move into our area. So that will be what moves in. These storms here, this is going to kind of just keep training, and that'll kind of move off to the northeast. This is the line moving towards Big Lake that will be making its way towards our area. So we will be watching that overnight. I'm going to try to get some sleep. I mean, it's got a long way to go. This will not move in until late tonight. And Carrie Sorsby, yes, so the wind advisory ends at midnight. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a few advisories in place, and let me double check some times here so that I don't tell you wrong. I've been celebrating a birthday party today. I've had a few things going on, so I'm working on kind of getting myself back in the orientation here in terms of what all we've got going on. Currently, what all continues. We do have a flood watch, not a flash flood watch, just a flood watch, and I'm trying to find the timing on that. That's through Sunday. I love when they don't give a time. Through Sunday evening. So there is a flood watch through Sunday evening for all of our area. So that is where we are going to be watching this new line that's developing. We will be watching that come through. And I don't have to tell you that we've already had quite a bit of flooding going on across the area. So that will be part of the problem going forward, is how much flooding we're going to see in some areas, possibly at least, as this line goes through. The good thing is, the indications are not that this is going to be training rains like we had yesterday. This is going to be a line that blows through. Plenty of heavy rain, obviously, and I mean, there's already places that are well saturated that really can't take any more rain, and it will be heavy rain. So that could lead to some flash flooding. But yes, we will be looking at some flooding going on. So, and I'll get to all the questions here in just a moment. And so let's see. Um, Let me get back to the local radar here. And man, this mouse just is not. I'm gonna replace the battery in this thing real quickly. Oh. See, this is a rare occasion where I actually get to do a somewhat lower stakes, less stressed out live stream, and because we don't have any storms in our area right now. I want to emphasize that. I know sometimes when I go live, folks are about ready for the world to end. But that's not the situation here. We are, this is getting ahead of things. This is trying to let you know what to expect tomorrow morning. So just to reiterate, the storms are not in our area right now. Now, what is interesting is that we've been watching this cap. This is all clutter right here. None of that matters. But so from about Decatur up to the Red River, and you can see the Red River is like the line there, where everything that gets north of the Red River just blows up. Right there north of Gainesville, just boom. And you can see some activity here, some showers, and you can see that it's kind of zippering south almost. I don't really expect that to get to our area. So that's kind of where we're at, is north of us, there's more lift, and so it's able to push through that cap, but not here. The cap is strong enough here, and I don't expect that to really change, because in order to get through the cap, now that temperatures are cooling, and we won't hit the temperature necessary to get past the cap, the next thing you need is sufficient lift, and we just don't have that here. We don't have a mechanism that's going to give us enough lift. In fact, there's a tornado warning there near Ardmore for one of those storms that came right out of Texas. As soon as it got into Oklahoma, blew up, started rotating, and there you have a surface-based storm that is quite severe. But for our area, I mean, yeah, we're not really looking at that being a problem, because we don't have the sufficient lift to punch through that cap and get these storms developed tonight. When that line comes in from the west, that will be more than enough lift to make the cap basically irrelevant. So that will come through, and we will actually look into the timing here. Now let me get into some questions really quickly and see. The mouse still doesn't work. I changed your battery, mouse. Come on, work with me here. All right, let's see what kind of questions we got. I think most of these I'm probably going to answer here in a moment. So Maria, you're in Uvalde County. I'm going to tell you, I probably won't really be covering your area. I'm in north central Texas, so that's where we're at. So I don't think I'll be a whole lot of help down in Uvalde. So let's get into, and I know I have a local radar banner on right now, and that's not really going to be relevant here in a second. Let's take that off so that's not confusing, because we're not really going to be looking at live radar. We're going to be looking at models here. So let me just do that. Okay. So what I want to show you now is and I'm about to get to a lot of these questions. So hopefully this answers quite a few of them. So this is going to be, and you can see the current warnings up there. Let me go ahead and get rid of those two. So just get those off the map so you can clearly kind of see everything. All right, we got a clear field here. So this is the high resolution rapid refresh model. Okay, this is the quickest model we have. The thing is, no weather model is perfect. Let me just start off right there, right? No model is going to tell you it's exactly going to be this time, this place, this thing. Doesn't work that way. These are kind of generalized estimations. There was a day last week when we were expecting to get storms and the cap held, and we didn't. But the HR model was so convinced it was going to happen, but it was overestimating temperatures. So these models can get it wrong. They are capable of doing that. However, when you see consensus in the models, that's where you get your difference. That's when you really can kind of raise that forecast confidence. So I see a lot of questions about where is this going to happen. And Stephen, any place you can park and get a video of a tornado. Not tomorrow morning, you can't. Not that early. It probably won't be light enough. So this is the HR model at 8 o'clock, so about an hour ago. And so what I want to show you is that here, bam, we have that new line that will blow up to our west. So this is 12 a.m. This is midnight, well west of us, San Angelo, Abilene, Wichita Falls area. That line of storms. We get ahead of this, and this is 4 a.m. So this is knocking on our western door. This is moving through Fort Worth, or well, not, this is moving through in Mineral Wells there, Stephenville, down to Hamilton, Brownwood, well, west of Hamilton really, Brownwood, Brady. So that's where this line is at 4 a.m. This timeline has kind of been going a little bit back and forth, little closer to 7 a.m., a little closer to 5 a.m. So it's been kind of doing this thing, and it could still do that a little bit overnight. This line is just now developing. So these models have been estimating without the line actually being there, just kind of trying to make a guesstimate. And so let's zoom in a little bit and get closer to this. And this is 6 a.m. So moving through Fort Worth, through McKinney and Plano, on down to Gatesville and Llano. So as the storms continue to move eastward, this is a guess of where the model thinks they will be at around 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And by the way, if you're curious, this is Radar Omega, fantastic program. So this is where that line, or about where the line is expected to be early tomorrow morning. What I will tell you is that, like any squall line, the primary concern with these storms, the primary issue is going to be straight line winds, damaging winds. I was trying to figure out which term to use there. Straight line winds. So we've seen the tornadoes yesterday. We saw some downbursts, right? This is where you have those straight line winds. Imagine, instead of these whirling winds, imagine the force of someone shoving you, right? All that force going one direction, okay? So that's what those straight line winds do. So that's what you need to expect. So that's what we're expecting here with this storm, is we're going to have those move over and approach our area, and that will be the primary concern. I won't be surprised to see winds of 60, 70, 75 miles per hour tomorrow morning. And so this is why, if there's anything outside that you do not want to become your neighbors or your next door neighbors or your next door neighborhood's problem, you need to secure those items tonight. Trust me. Trampolines, whatever the case, my trampoline isn't as well secured as I want it to be, so I'm probably going to be spending some time this evening hammering in some extra stakes in the ground, getting ready for that. But that's going to be the deal. Now, a good question from Court: what direction will the winds be moving? Well, ahead of the line, overnight we're going to have southerly winds. It's been windy all day. We've had gusty winds. We've had gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour. That's why we had that wind advisory in place for about another 3 hours. Now, with the storm, they will be pushing from the west. So that's going to be the deal. And there's the next question. Will it have rolled out of Ellis County by the time everyone is headed to church? I hope to be heading to church tomorrow. Granted, I go to late service. I'm at First United Methodist Church, and I'm going to the late service, right? I'm there at like 11. So, I'm going a lot later than a lot of folks probably are. But, it's moving in from the south. This is going to be moving in from the west. And Adrian, a good question there, and a tough question. What if you live in a mobile home? Would you say it would be safe? So, mobile homes are never ideal in severe weather. And I don't like to give that answer because I grew up in a mobile home, and I know that it's not exactly easy to, let me just go here. You don't always have an answer for that, right? I don't really know, and anybody asking me a specific location, look how big it is. I mean, this is going to go about from the Red River all the way down to South Texas. This isn't missing anybody, okay? this is going to go right through no matter what your location is, unless you're coming in from Pittsburgh. I mean, this is going to hit everybody in our area. So big, huge line. I don't think anybody's missing out on the rain. So the location locations here, pretty much going to be the same for all of us, right? And Bo, yeah, and Christina, Christina, I do see your question about a weakening trend. We'll get to that in a moment. But these storms, and to that question, actually, let me not get ahead of myself. As far as being in a mobile home, I don't anticipate the straight line winds being too big an issue with a mobile home, as long as it is secured, whatever the case is. I personally, I didn't secure my mobile home when I was a child, so I don't know the details that go into that. I'm sure whoever lives in one does know what that entails, but that's what I would say, is just make sure that whatever precautions or whatever necessities are taken care of, necessary actions are taken care of. And so, Adam, thank you so much for the Venmo donation there. I need to watch that, because I try to make sure I thank everyone on camera, because those donations are a great help. So let me actually do something to pull those up. So, okay, yeah, so that's kind of where, yeah, anchored. Thank you. That's kind of the word I was looking for there. So make sure it's anchored, secured, that kind of thing. So I don't anticipate this being too big an issue there, but I do think that if you are in, I think really my biggest concern is going to be on the highways, the buses, the 18-wheelers, those broad vehicles that are traveling north to south on the interstates as these storms come in. So that's kind of my chief concern there. Now, as far as a weakening trend, I'm not too sure what the weakening trend is going to be like. There's a lot of unstable air, and it's going to stay unstable because it hasn't been tested today. So I imagine that we could see some weakening in this as it comes in, but I'm not thinking we're going to see a whole lot of it. Okay, I think we're probably going to see quite a few storms. I think that we will see quite a bit of stronger activity with this line. I think there will be severe weather, and I don't really know. I don't really know how much weakening we're going to be able to get out of this, and we might, but I don't want to claim that. Because there will be quite a bit of unstable air. Now, the good news is this won't be coming in the middle of the afternoon. This was coming in the middle of the afternoon, middle of daytime heating. that would be a bit of a different situation. Because at that point, we're dealing with peak heating and much more instability than we already have. And the air is already pretty well unstable. So that's kind of where we're at now. In terms of the timeline, this is 6 a.m. So let me get further along here and show you. This is 8 a.m. All you Ellis County folks, here you go. 8 a.m. This is this model's estimation. Again, this is not saying it's going to happen exactly at this time at exactly this place. This is an estimation by the model. So this is where we are estimating this to be around 8 o'clock. I will say that this model does appear to be kind of that it does appear to somewhat show a weakening trend. Not a whole lot though. I really don't expect. I'm not going to anticipate that. If we get that, great, but I'm not going to assume that that's going to happen there. So that's kind of where I'm expecting it to go. So as we continue on here, get a little later in the morning. Here's 11 a.m. Now, here's something I want to show you. One, the HR model does show that the line appears to be falling apart as it goes eastward. I'm hesitant to agree with that. I don't know if we can really say that this line will really be breaking apart that much as it moves east. It could, but I'm cautious here. I'm cautious to say that it will just kind of just start falling apart and breaking apart as it makes its way that way. Now, here's something else I want to talk about. You see these little developments, these little pop-ups here behind the line? As we go forward in this model, if the mouse will work with me here, we start to see some new development. Now, it falls apart and we start to see new development. A couple of things. One, there's some off to the southeast, College Station, Crockett area up to Palestine, so could be some there. But you see right here in the Metroplex down through our area, you see a new line developing, a broken line there, and then as we go forward, those quickly intensify, right, and basically rolls into East Texas for another round of severe weather. They're under a slight risk, I think. I don't think they've gone enhanced yet. They may wait until tomorrow to do that. In fact, I will double check that right now and see kind of where we stand with that. Because I think for tomorrow it's just a slight risk. Yeah, still just a slight risk east of us. I don't know how long that's going to last, but just a slight risk for this area. So, but again, this is daytime heating. This is 6 p.m. Okay, we've gone through the 3, 4, 5 o'clock heating by this point. So 6 o'clock, storms are moving east. There's plenty to get through here, and the big question in my mind right now, and I know it doesn't sound good that I have questions, but right, we don't know for sure, is how far west will this start to develop? And how mature and how organized will the storms be before they all push east and get out of our area? So I'm not exactly sure what tomorrow afternoon looks like for our area. This line of storms, that early line of storms, may stabilize the air enough to where we don't really have much. But that's the question. How much can the atmosphere over our area recover to allow more storms for our area? So that's really one of the questions. Now, that's the HR model. Let's see if there's anything else really to show here. Not really. That pretty well covers it. So let's get over to the other short-term model and hope I have enough to show you here, because this model takes quite a bit longer to render here. Yeah, there's not much to show. So, okay, well, here's the NAM model, the NAM model. Okay, I know there's a lot of people asking about it. There's a high risk of a tornado in Ellis County, and I think we're getting to all caps here. I'm not sure why everybody is so... People, relax, man. I had people on the front end of this stream that were going, it's 9:02, where are you at? We will get to the questions. Jenna, I see your question about a bit, whether there will be a tornado risk in Ellis County. I'm trying to get through timeline now, and then we'll talk about the risks a little more detail, because I do want to talk about that again and get more into depth, but I'm trying to take it one thing at a time. The biggest question is that I've seen is the timeline. So I'm trying to get through that first, and then we'll get a little more in depth of the meteorology of what to expect in terms of what risks we're looking at. So everybody just kind of let's get through the timing first, and then Jenna, I will definitely answer your question. Okay, so timeline-wise, here's what the NAM tells us. Now this is 4 a.m. This is a tad earlier than the HR model. So this is the NAM model putting quite an impressive line right at our western doorstep, right around 4 a.m. So this is where, and Allie, I appreciate you trying to fill the gap there that, it's people saying it's low. We'll get to the tornado risk in a moment. I don't want you to go through, I don't want you to take what the Storm Prediction Center is saying and take that as gospel, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But that's what we have. So this is 5 a.m. So really the NAM model has maybe an hour or two ahead of the HR model. And that's why I give windows here. That's why I'm not saying it's going to hit at exactly this time. We kind of give a window because these two models, it's hard to tell exactly where these storms are going to hit exactly at the same time when you have two models that are competing with each other. Especially when the line that's going to be coming through here is just now developing. I don't even know how fast it's moving right now, as opposed to once it actually really blows up and gets through West Texas and makes it through our area. So that's why I'm saying it'll be moving through our area. This is 5 a.m. The other one had 6 a.m. So around 5, 6 a.m., it will be pretty well moving through our area. So that's kind of where we have things. Some people are asking, will it be out of here by the time we're going to church? Well, this is where this is at 8 a.m. And the NAM kind of has a weird, kind of different, a little bit of a different kind of style here. This new line almost, this is what we were talking about the other day, where you have one line that kind of falls apart, and new line recycles it. So there could be some of that going on, but this is 8 a.m. The NAM thinking that we might get some new development right on the heels of that. That I'm not really sure about, but by 10 a.m. the NAM has most of this out of here, and the HR pretty well had that too. And so, can I get one more? No. The NAM it takes longer to render, so it's still kind of cooking. But this is 11 a.m. and pretty close to what the HR had. So really, by noon, the first round should be out of here. The question comes in: do we get the second round? Is it strong to severe in our area, and how long does it hang around before it boosts on east? Now, let's finally get to the question of what to expect. Tornadoes, damaging winds, hail is what's going to happen. Is there going to be, murder wasps coming from the sky? What are we expecting from this line of storms? I will tell you the chief issue, the chief concern is going to be damaging winds. As I mentioned earlier, 60, 70 mile per hour winds in these storms cannot be ruled out. It may be closer to 40 to 50, I hope it is. Severe weather starts at 58 miles per hour. That starts your severe storm criteria. So that's kind of what I'm expecting is, realistically, I think 50 to 60, but we could get 60 to 70 miles per hour in terms of these stronger storms. Large hail could be an issue as well. I will say that we may not be looking at the updrafts, right, that we're expecting with a independent storm, like an individual storm that just has all the energy to work with. The updrafts may not be that strong, so we may not be looking at terribly large hail, but large hail will be an issue. I think if we have hail in the morning with this storm, I think we could peak. And don't understand this. I think that in the strongest storms, and this would be pretty rare, I think, in the morning. But I think the biggest we would see is probably baseball-sized hail. Now, I don't think that'll be common. I think we'll mostly be seeing pocket change, maybe a few quarters, some pennies, some dimes, that kind of thing. But I think that the max that we would see would probably be baseball-sized hail. And that's just going with the quasi-linear, and let me kind of demonstrate this, use this as my whiteboard, if you will. The quasi-linear kind of structure of this. Quasi-linear meaning it's a line, okay? So you have this line coming through, and to answer the question from earlier, yes, there could very well be a weakening trend in these storms. But I'm not going to bank on it because it's a very unstable atmosphere. Mother Nature is pissed for some reason. And the last couple of days, man, she has been throwing everything at everyone. So, we see and yeah, somebody just mentioned it, the videos coming out of Nebraska and Iowa and Kansas and Oklahoma, these storms that have just been absolutely outrageous. So, I mean, we're very, very fortunate to not be north of here. Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. No matter what we get in the morning, it won't be as bad as what those folks are seeing. So whatever we get in the morning, count your blessings, because it could be incredibly, 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 incredibly worse. I'll tell you some of the footage that I've seen coming out of Nebraska, Kansas. I've been doing this for a minute or two now. Some of the worst I've seen. I mean, I could not believe my eyes. So just understand that this is nothing compared to what those folks are going through up there. All of that said, it still can be a concern, right? This looks terrifying here, but I don't expect this to be a whole lot more than just a pretty uniform line of storms. We've had these squall lines come in before. And yes, to answer a question from earlier, I will be live covering these storms early in the morning. I will be caffeinated up, ready to rock and roll with everybody. We will be covering these storms. I'll be up in plenty of time. Again, I'm not sure how much sleep I'm actually going to get tonight, but I will be up early covering these storms with you, and we will get through it together, right? We will be working on making sure that you are clear on this. Now, for the people asking when will it hit, there's your time, 5 a.m. That's where this model, the NAM model, has it moving through, basically moving into Ellis County. You can see it's already through Johnson County, so moving into Ellis County. Again, one model has 5, another model I think has closer to 6. We'll go back to the HR model here and kind of see where we're at. And this model data, I mean, it's fresh. Yeah, so 5 a.m., so yeah, 6 a.m. So really the models are only about an hour apart. So 5 to 6 a.m. is when it's moving through the I-35 corridor. So yeah, so Alejandro, yeah, so Venus right around probably 4 or 5 a.m. is what I would say. Well, I mean, yeah, 5 or 6. So that's kind of the window I'm looking at right now. I think that these two models they're pretty close at this point. So 5, 6 a.m., this is where they will be moving through. So that's kind of where things stand. And again, the question comes in, and it's really possibly going to be affected by this, is what do we see, what do we see after all of this moves through, right? Do we see storms that develop here and then quickly move east and they're gone before they get organized? Or do we have stronger storms in our area that then move eastward? I'm not sure. Tomorrow afternoon, I will have to be watching to see. I'm hoping to go to church tomorrow, but I may be here monitoring tomorrow afternoon's round of storms to see what that's going to look like, to see if we have anything else we need to watch. And so that's kind of where things stand. And so let me just go back through, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks jumping in just now that have all the questions in the world because they haven't been watching. But let me just kind of go back and see what questions I can answer here. I'm sure I've answered 90% of these. And by the way, at the beginning of I know it's irked a few people that I wasn't ready to go at 9, right? So let me just point out a couple of things. One, if I don't go live right at that moment, it may be that my prep took a little longer than I expected it to. And then the intro screen at the beginning, once I click live, I do a few things. While that screen is there, I check my mics, check a few other things. I share it on a few places, the live stream. So there's a little work to be done between the point where I start the live stream and when I actually come up here. So I don't have a producer to do all this stuff for me. I'm it, right, in the studio. Now Matt is off-site. He's doing off-site things. I've got all the buttons to myself. So there's going to be some patience involved sometimes. I might be 3, 4, 5 minutes late. Not the end of the world, all right? So give me a little grace there because this is, again, I'm doing this on my own here in the studio. So just, a little bit of patience doesn't hurt anybody. So that's kind of where we're at. I try to be on the air by the 2-minute 30-second point. Sometimes it takes a little longer, just depending on what's going on, what I've got happening. And yes, somebody mentioned I've got kids and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it might be one of those things. I might be kind of wrapping things up with the kiddos, getting them taken care of. So just have a little patience with me, and we'll all be okay. So what does Tarrant County look like tomorrow? I think we pretty well covered that. Going to the Rangers game and leaving Mansfield probably about 11:30. So 11:30 tomorrow, we should be in a lull, especially in Mansfield. A little bit of a lull there. And of course, in the Ranger game, you're inside. But I think anything that happens, Mansfield, Arlington, 11:30. I think honestly, anything is going to be east of Arlington tomorrow afternoon. So I think Arlington is pretty well going to be done by that point. So I think you're going to be good to go to the Rangers game. Covered the time frame. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, somebody from Uvalde, and I don't really think. I think we've pretty well. I mean, I don't cover Uvalde County, unfortunately, but it kind of covered Denton already. It's on the map. Let's see. A lot of where's it going to be this, that time. Covered the timeline already. Again, winds overnight will be out of the south, and then the winds coming from the storms probably going to be from the west, right? That's where the storms will be coming in. Covered the weakening trend. Covered the timeline. Covered the tornado risk. I see that question came up 3 or 4 times here. So covered that. And I promise you, Jenna, it wasn't that I didn't see your question. I just wanted to get through the timeline before we got there. Now, Erica, you said you're camping in an RV at Joe Pool Lake. Should you pack up and come home tonight? You live in Red Oak. Surely don't want to be riding in an RV in this. I don't think that would be a bad idea. I hate to cut any trip short, but I mean, in an RV with 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, possibly. If it were me, I would probably come home, just to, try to keep things, on the safe side. That's what I would, and we'll be going live in the morning. How far south will this storm reach? Just to kind of zoom out and show the scope of this line. From river to river, folks, from the Red to the Rio Grande. So that's where, really, that's, so from the valley all the way up to the Red River and beyond, all the way to the Arklatex and north of there, basically up to the Ozarks at this point. So, yeah, pretty impressive line of storms. I mean, it's going to pretty well sweep almost all the way through the state of Texas. So, not a whole lot of people getting missed by this line. Just going back through comments here, seeing what other questions I can ask. Amanda Dobbs, you asked about Scarborough Renaissance Festival. So I am informing them. I'm actually in a partnership with them now, where I'm advising them on weather conditions. So I will be working on keeping them appraised of the situation. And tomorrow, I will tell you, I was there last weekend, and it was very, very muddy. And we still had fun. I mean, it was muddy out there. There were some wet spots. You kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to step. But it wasn't that terrible. And so we definitely still had a good time. So definitely worth still going to Scarborough Renaissance Festival tomorrow. I think, it's an incredibly fun time. I'm hoping to go one more time this season. And yeah, it's a great time. And I don't think that the mud will really ruin the situation there. So just going back through some questions to see what other questions I can answer. More timeline questions, pretty well covered those. There's so many messages coming in now that I don't know if I'm going to catch up doing this. So a question about the cap and how it relates to severe weather. So for a storm to become severe, it has to reach a certain level in the atmosphere, right? We're talking, 30, 40,000 feet in the air. At about 20,000 feet or so, there's let's see, you have a warm layer of air, and let me see if I can pull up a sounding here. And okay, and we do have, thank you, Kathy, for the donation through Cash App. We do have an Amber Alert that has been issued. Child abduction in San Marcos, Texas. Silver 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander. License plate TKK 8328. TKK 8328. That's a Texas license plate. Victim is 2-year-old Hispanic male Legend Torres, who was last seen wearing a black shirt with Legend since April 2021 on it. Black shorts, blue and white Jordans. Suspect is 46-year-old Hispanic male Joey Torres. Call 911 with information. So that's that public bulletin to get that out there. So make sure you're sharing those Amber Alert posts. I will probably do that. I wasn't able to do that earlier. Probably going to do that now. So, but let me show you the cap a little bit, because I want folks to be able to understand this. And I've done a video on it before. But this is actually what we use to kind of visualize that. So this is a, push the button. There we go. Okay. Sounding. Okay. So when they send the weather balloons up, right, and this is from the National Weather Service, when they send those weather balloons up, we track the information that they send back. This is what it shows us. So as it goes up, it's showing us the green line is the moisture, the red line is the temperature as it's going. Now, if you know anything about elevation, the temperature drops with elevation, correct? So what happens normally is the temperature cools and cools and cools. However, if you notice, whoa, okay, we suddenly warm up. That warm layer of air prevents storms from developing. What storms need is for cool air, it to get cooler and cooler and thinner as you go up. But where you have that layer of warm air, that's stable sinking air that pushes down and limits those storms from developing. So essentially, there's two ways to get past the cap. Warm the surface enough to where you basically eliminate the cap, right? You eliminate that inversion, and it's called an inversion because it's where it's going warmer, where it's supposed to be cooler. So that's kind of how that works. But if you can warm the surface enough to eliminate that inversion, then storms can freely develop. The other way you can do that is if you have a strong enough updraft, you can just punch right through it, which is essentially kind of one of the things we were looking at today. That would have been necessary today because we didn't warm the surface enough to get rid of it. We didn't warm the surface enough to get through the sinking air. And even if we did get warm enough in some places, the sinking air that was in place, it wasn't enough to, or the updrafts were not enough, and we didn't have a trigger close enough to us, so we didn't have a cold front or something like that. Now, we'll have that squall line coming through. That will have plenty of lift to get right through it. But that's the cap, and that's how we actually see those things. So I hope that kind of clears that up. I know that that's a term that's used all the time, and sometimes folks are like, I wish somebody would just explain what this cap is. You know, it's not like Mother Nature's wearing a big, World Series champions cap or anything. That's the cap. That's how the cap works, and that's how we measure it. Allie Riley said, pro tip, screenshot the map and set your alarm for your area so you're up and prepared. So, yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, one way to do it. Let me get back oriented here. Just kind of going back through questions, trying to see some questions here. And again, let me remind you, if you are on the highways when this stuff comes through, because it will be in the morning, do not stop under roadway or under overpasses. Bo Smith, or Bo, are you in there? Did I see you, Bo Davis? Bo, I'm getting two people mixed up. I know a Bo Smith and a Bo Davis. Bo, you're a first responder. I'm sure you could fairly eloquently and seriously explain why that's a problem. But first responders and people that are trying to get through, you don't want to impede that. So, that's why. I mean, you really don't want to plug up traffic and cause many issues. So do not stop under an overpass. Alejandro, you've asked a few times here, wasn't there a tornado west of us in Graham area? I'm not really sure. I haven't been keeping up today, but there were tornadoes northwest of us, Wichita Falls, Vernon area up there. So, and I see one of the TV weather peeps talking about it. Any reports on that one? Haven't heard any reports. So Graham is outside of my area, so I'm really not sure. I don't have anything clear on that. All right, let me get. Okay, and we'll recap this too. We will recap everything because I know there's a lot of people that are just now coming in that are extremely confused and frustrated because I'm behind the ball. But yeah, we will recap everything. I'm just trying to get through the questions that were asked, and there was quite a few of them. So somebody asking about the Lincoln tornado funnel. You're asking what would happen if an F-14 fighter jet flew through the middle of a tornado. I have no idea, and I don't really know why that question needs to be asked, so I don't know. I don't know what happens if you fly a jet through a tornado. I have no idea. Um, okay, so let's get back through this and let's go through kind of the finer points here because I know everyone wants to know what time and what to expect. So overall, we're going to see this line of storms moving in overnight. This is the HR model's estimation of where the storms will be about 6 a.m. The NAM model has the same location roughly at about 5 a.m. So between around 5 or 6 a.m., these storms will be moving through the 35 corridor here. So all that to say, it'll be moving into the western edges of our area around 4 or 5 a.m. time period, right? So that's kind of what we're expecting. So around 4 or 5 is when we'll start to see it. Now, obviously, it's going to take a little bit to get to Corsicana. So Corsicana going to be closer to 6 or 7. But 4 or 5 o'clock in our western zones, 5 to 6 right there in the middle, and then 6 to 7 in the Navarro County area. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here in terms of that timeline. And I'll post something about that later on after we finish this. We've been on air for close to an hour, about 50 minutes here, which is a lot better than 5 hours, I'll tell you. So that's kind of what we're expecting here. Now, this will be posted. You'll be able to go back and play this later if you missed it and you want to go kind of catch up to it and watch it and that kind of thing. So if you have missed most of this broadcast, this will be posted for you to go watch later. I'm going to put a graphic together that shows the timing of what to expect. Okay, Marcia, you're asking about the numbers here. And so that really doesn't have anything to do with the storms. That is something that Radar Omega put on there recently. I've been trying to figure out how to get that off because it only causes confusion. I believe that is barometric pressure or something relating to it in these particular areas. So these are isobars, pressure gradients, and so I'm not exactly certain what they're referring to there. I haven't taken the time to actually look into what they are. So those numbers, they relate to, I believe, the barometric pressure in the atmosphere at a certain level, something around those lines. But I've been trying to get those taken off because I know they only add confusion, but I don't think Radar Omega gives me the option, which is weird. But it's not relevant to what you're looking at right now. That's the main thing I'll tell you. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I thank you so much for, let me just get back and kind of caught up here, because I know that some folks have. I appreciate you, Katie and Adam, for your donations in the Cash App and Venmo. Those are always greatly appreciated. And Mike, the hail threat, yeah, let me go through that too. Main threat's going to be the damaging winds. We could see 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds sustained, could see gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour in these storms. That's going to be the main concern. We could see some hail in these storms. I think mostly pocket change hail, maybe some golf balls. I think the biggest we would possibly see is baseball size hail, but I think that would be very, very rare. Not really expecting to see much of that, but I think that's the worst that we would possibly see with these storms. The tornado threat will be present. I don't think it's going to be a particularly large tornado threat. Most of the tornado threat you're going to see is going to be on the leading edge of this. So usually these kind of lines, they're QLCS, quasi-linear convective system tornadoes. QLCS, that's what you have here. It's a big long term for a squall line, right? So that's going to be moving through. If you have these tornadoes on the leading edge, usually they're very brief. They're kind of quick spin ups and then they're gone. That's not to say they can't do damage. They absolutely can, but that's just what we're looking at. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. The tornado threat's not that great. Flooding could be a problem, especially in those places where flooding has already occurred. There's going to be a lot of rain in a short amount of time. The good news is this won't be hanging around. It's not like this is going to be training rain over the same areas like it was the other night. So that's the good news. But all the same, it will be worth paying some attention to, certainly here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're just now joining in and you missed everything, this will be posted for you to watch. Go back and watch later. I will be posting a couple of graphics to kind of cover all of this again. But thank you so much for joining the stream, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. I'm going to go drink a little bit of scotch, And then early tomorrow morning, that'll be turning into coffee. So I will be live in the morning to cover all this. Janice, you're just now joining in. This will be posted for you to go back and watch to get all the information from there. So thank you so much for joining in, for watching this, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning again. If you want to set your alarms, storms start to arrive in our western zones somewhere around 4 or 5 a.m., so I will be ready with a live stream at that time.